Bonjour, hello, I'm Cynthia Price-Verreault, Chair of the Canadian Museum of Immigration at Pier 21. Je m'adresse à vous du Quai 21, situé à Mi'kma'ki, terre ancestrale et contemporaine non cédée du peuple Mi'kmaq. Thank you for joining us for the annual public meeting. The purpose of these meetings is to report on how the museum is serving Canadians. La réunion d'aujourd'hui couvre l'exercice qui a commencé le 1er avril 2024 et qui s'est terminé le 31 mars 2025. It was a special year. July 1st, 2024 marked 25 years since we opened our doors, welcoming visitors to the National Historic Site that would become today's National Museum. But far more importantly, it was a year in which we looked forward, launching new exhibitions and envisioning all the ways we can grow. Au musée, nous étudions l'histoire de l'immigration au Canada. Nous examinons les points forts et les moments sombres de cette histoire. Nous examinons également les nombreuses contributions que les nouveaux arrivants ont offertes à la culture, à l'économie et au mode de vie du Canada. We seek to create engaging, memorable, and enriching visitor experiences, delivering our mandate by reaching Canadians in a whole variety of ways. We have exhibitions and programming here at the museum. We reach people in all regions of the country and beyond through virtual education programs, podcasts, interactive web experiences, and traveling exhibitions. In 2024-25, we welcomed over 56,000 paid visitors to the museum. Beyond the confines of our physical location, our podcast had over 64,000 downloads. Our new online history timeline received over 125,000 clicks, and we hosted 30 virtual field trips with groups from as far away as Whitehorse and Iqaluit. Le personnel, les bénévoles et l'équipe dirigeante du musée travaillent d'arrache-pied pour servir les Canadiens et les Canadiennes. Et je tiens à prendre un moment pour les remercier du fond du cœur pour leur travail et leur dévouement. Similarly, I want to thank my fellow trustees for their care and stewardship of this very important organization. Étant membre de la famille du Musée national du gouvernement du Canada, nous recevons du soutien continu et essentiel. C'est un privilège et un honneur d'avoir la responsabilité de réaliser le mandat important du musée. We are deeply grateful for the generosity of all our donors, supporters, and sponsors, and we would like to recognize and extend a special thanks to several of them. The Beatrice Crawford family for supporting our virtual field trip program through a donation matching program. The J&W Murphy Foundation for continuing its support of our educational programming. Et la famille Bragg, en reconnaissance de leurs généreux dons, une section de l'exposition sur l'histoire de l'immigration canadienne a été baptisée Galerie de la famille Bragg. The Rossi Foundation, the R. Howard Webster Foundation, and the RBC Foundation have all enabled us to continue our Welcome Home to Canada program, which provides important Canadian work experience to newcomers right here at the museum. La BMO a généreusement soutenu notre nouvelle exposition itinérante À la table, le goût de l'immigration. Scotiabank generously supported the new traveling exhibition, A History Exposed, the Enslavement of Black People in Canada. La Fondation de la famille Burks a continué de soutenir la tournée nationale de la Tente Refuge Canada. And Margaret McCain, for her generous contribution, which allowed the museum to offer free programming and admission throughout March break. La Banque TD a poursuivi son engagement envers nos artistes en résidence et nos programmes communautaires, y compris tous les événements du mois du patrimoine africain et du mois du patrimoine asiatique. We also received significant gifts to mark our 25th anniversary from donors, including Ralph and Rose Kyoto and Dorothy and Ken Rowe. The contributions we receive, large and small, help us bring Canada's history to life through exhibitions and public and educational programming. Enfin, je tiens à vous remercier d'assister à cette réunion et de l'intérêt que vous portez au musée. We are committed to being financially responsible, sustainable, and fully accountable to Canadians. Nous sommes impatients de vous accueillir prochainement au musée. See you soon.
Bonjour, I'm Michelle McKenzie, Interim CEO of the Canadian Museum of Immigration at Pier 21. The museum shares stories of people coming to Canada, why they came, what barriers they faced, and how they contributed to this society. One of the things that's common to almost all stories of immigration is hope. Le Canada a représenté l'espoir d'une vie meilleure pour la plupart de ceux et celles qui y sont arrivés. The museum is a symbol of that hopefulness. Not because it focuses on positive stories. Its job is to tell the story of Canadian immigration history, warts and all. But hope is always part of that story. It is reflected in everything the museum does. And it does a lot. Voici quelques-unes des choses que le musée a accomplies en 2024-2025. During this period, a new large-scale traveling exhibition called Eat, Make, Share, A Taste of Immigration, was in the final stages of development. The exhibition concluded its run here at the museum in January, and in April of 2026, travels to the Joseph Brant Museum in Burlington, Ontario, the first stop of a 5-year journey that will take it to locations across Canada. The exhibition is all about the relationship between food and immigration in Canada, including how food insecurity causes people to leave their homes and how Indigenous foodways and culinary traditions from around the world have shaped how and what we eat here today. Voici les conservateurs de musée qui parleront de certains des objets présentés dans l'exposition.
People's connection to food runs deep. It's tied to memory, to home, and even to freedom and safety. That was the case for Rebecca Teitelbaum, a Jewish woman from Belgium who was sent to a concentration camp during the Holocaust. We're here inside the exhibition Eat, Make, Share, A Taste of Immigration, with a really special book handmade by Rebecca almost 80 years ago. In secret and at great risk, Rebecca stole paper and a pencil from the office of Ravensbrück concentration camp. At night, the women prisoners would talk about their favorite recipes from home, and Rebecca would record them in a book she had hand-stitched together. She wrote down over 200 recipes. Her camp was eventually liberated, and Rebecca survived and immigrated to Canada, bringing the recipe book with her. Her recipe for orange cake, included in the book, is fondly remembered by her son as something she made weekly throughout her life in Canada. And it's also one of the many recipes available in the exhibition for visitors to make at home.
Salut, je m'appelle Christine Kovacevic et je suis la conservatrice des expositions principales du musée. J'ai beaucoup de chance d'avoir fait partie de l'équipe qui a créé cette exposition passionnante. Depuis des siècles, les nouveaux arrivants ont adapté des recettes et des ingrédients à leur nouvelle situation au Canada, produisant des résultats délicieux. Saviez-vous que le rouleau californien a été inventé au Canada? En 1971, le chef sushi japonais du nom de Hidekazu Tojo est arrivé du Japon et a constaté que la plupart des Canadiens et Canadiennes hésitaient à manger les sushis avec leurs poissons crus et leurs algues. Pour répondre à leur goût, il a adapté le rouleau de sushi traditionnel en cachant les algues à l'intérieur de la couche de riz et en utilisant du crabe cuit. Aujourd'hui, le rouleau californien est considéré comme l'un des sushis les plus populaires en Amérique du Nord. Découvrez l'histoire surprenante des aliments canadiens dont nous raffolons. Faites l'expérience d'À la table, le goût de l'immigration aujourd'hui, une exposition créée par le Musée canadien de l'immigration du Quai 21. Elle sera ouverte jusqu'au 18 janvier 2026.
Les expositions itinérantes sont un moyen important pour le musée de remplir son mandat national. Another major traveling exhibition, Refuge Canada, which launched 7 years ago, continued to travel around the country in both a large format and smaller ones that help us to reach Canadians in smaller communities or non-traditional spaces like shopping malls and libraries. With the worldwide refugee crisis continuing and growing, Refuge Canada is sadly more relevant than ever. The museum launched a new exhibition called A History Exposed: The Enslavement of Black People in Canada. This exhibition was created with guest curator Dr. Afua Cooper and in partnership with the Black Cultural Centre for Nova Scotia. It is also slated to travel extensively over the coming years. Une exposition plus petite, appelée Opération Parasol, a été conçue pour marquer le 25e anniversaire de la réinstallation et du rapatriement de milliers de réfugiés kosovars fuyant le conflit dans l'ancienne République fédérale de Yougoslavie. On September 30th of 2024, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, the museum launched the digital timeline, Immigration and Impact. The timeline features different lenses on the history of the land now known as Canada, including a lens about Indigenous history created by Indigenous scholars. In its first 5 months, the timeline received over 125,000 views. Vous pouvez vous aussi le consulter sur chronologie.k21.ca. The museum's collection focuses on notable objects, accounts, and images that tell important and often fascinating stories about immigration to Canada. Collecting is targeted, and some of the items in our collection are very special. This heart-shaped glass pendant was whittled by a Canadian soldier, Frank Engelhardt, during the Second World War. The glass was debris from a Nazi airplane shot down near him. He took the brass maple leaf from his uniform and added it to the pendant and sent it to his wife, Marjorie. Marjorie was one of the tens of thousands of war brides who came to Canada during and after the war. Le plan de développement de la collection et l'équipe a décidé quels objets le musée souhaite acquérir et préserver. Il se concentre sur le matériel qui comble les lacunes de la collection. En 2024-2025, l'équipe a ciblé des éléments qui reflètent les expériences des personnes arrivant de l'Inde, de la Chine, des Philippines, du Nigeria, et de la France. Material was collected from refugee movements, including from Syria a decade ago, Somalia in the 1980s, and Chile in the 70s. The team also collected items from immigrant-owned businesses and those that employ a lot of immigrant workers. The museum has a rich collection of oral histories. In collaboration with KISA, an organization that documents, archives, and exhibits oral histories of immigrants to Canada, it undertook a project called Driving Canada, a front-seat view of immigration through Uber. The collaboration resulted in 7 oral history interviews with recent immigrants from India, Pakistan, and Syria. This museum is for everyone. The team continued to make the building and the experiences the museum offers more accessible. The museum's first accessibility plan began its 3rd year on January 1st, 2025. And as it concluded, all 131 of the action items listed in the plan were complete. Partnerships help amplify the museum's mandate in collaboration with other organizations. Partnerships included Concordia University, Neptune Theatre, Taste Canada, Devour Film Festival, Halifax Comedy Festival, Taste Asia, the Black Cultural Centre for Nova Scotia, and others. The museum has 2 podcasts, one in English, Countless Journeys, and one in French, D'innombrables Voyages. Season 5, which dropped in May of 2024, was centered on the theme humor and immigration. This is a breakthrough year. The cumulative number of downloads surpassed 100,000, with listeners all across Canada and, in fact, around the world. Fundraising is critical to this museum. Without it, the museum would not be able to offer such a wide range of programs and events. Cynthia mentioned some of our sponsors and major donors earlier. I want to reiterate my thanks to them, as well as to the people who donate at any level. It all makes a big difference. In Halifax, in November of 2024, the annual Luncheon with a Fascinating Canadian event featured keynote speaker Sherry Porter. Sherry has been a longtime champion and friend of the museum. The event chair was Karen Hutt. A second Fascinating Canadian event held in Toronto featured AJ Vermani, executive chairman and founder of Cargojet. The Toronto event was co-chaired by Kaylin Rovanescu and Annette Verschuren. Un événement de musée à Montréal portait sur une conversation avec le couple associé Andrew Molson et Helen Antonio. Events like these build awareness and support for the museum's important mandate. The museum developed new education programs and experiences and hosted 2 playwrights as artists in residence, both immigrants to Canada working on plays with immigration-related themes. Public programs bring different communities into the building for many events during the year. This includes film screenings, encounters with authors, concerts, and more. March Break this year featured hugely popular cooking workshops. The Canada Storytellers series included encounters with Kim Thuy for the screening of Rue, a film based on her book, Jeannie Becker, who discussed her new book, Heart on My Sleeve, and Mi'kmaq artist Shalin Jodri, whose artist residency was capped with a dance performance inspired by her poetry. There were also performances by Julian Taylor to celebrate African Heritage Month and Toronto's renowned Arc Ensemble, and a lecture held online from African-American scholar Alfonso Saville about 18th century Black Methodist preacher John Morant, who established a church in Birchtown, Nova Scotia. Et comme toujours, pour la Fête de Canada, le musée était ouvert gratuitement au public pour une journée spéciale remplie de spectacles et d'activités. Countless immigrants have brought their hopes with them to this country. This hope fueled them as they began the work of building a new life in a new place. And it fuels the team here at the museum. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you at the museum soon. À bientôt.